Okay, let's dive in. Today, we're plunging into some truly ancient, really profound waters. We're exploring a fascinating stack of source material attributed to Enoch.
That's right. And specifically, we're zeroing in on his prophecies, particularly those about righteousness, judgment, and, well, the deep workings of the cosmos and history itself.
These texts, they offer such a unique window, don't they, into an ancient worldview, just packed with intricate details and these sweeping visions.
Absolutely. And our mission for this deep dive really is to unpack the most important nuggets of knowledge. The vivid visions, the stark warnings, the surprising
You
insights.
see what resonated back then and maybe what makes us think today.
Exactly.
And what I find particularly compelling is that the source material, it actually includes direct instructions from Enoch to his son, Methuselah.
hmm Emphasizing how critical it was to preserve this wisdom,
Yeah.
to pass it down through the generations.
Yeah, he even says that for those who understand this knowledge, it'll be more pleasing than good food.
Which is quite a statement, isn't it?
Oh,
It speaks volumes about the perceived value of this kind of understanding, this spiritual and cosmic insight.
it's not just information, it's nourishment. Essential almost.
Presented as essential, yes.
Hmm.
For survival, for flourishing, especially given the challenge of the text foresee.
Absolutely. So buckle up, everyone. We're going to navigate some incredible details. We're talking celestial calendars revealed by angels.
Terrifying visions that allegorically map out history.
And these powerful calls to righteousness set against some really severe warnings about wickedness. It's quite a journey.
It really is.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Starting with something that honestly surprised me a bit when I was looking through the sources. It's not just abstract prophecy. There's this incredibly detailed section on a celestial calendar.
That's one of the most fascinating and maybe unexpected parts. The text lays out a very, very precise 364-day year, and it's presented as, a divinely revealed system.
A 364-day year. How is that calendar structured? What are the mechanics?
Well, it's divided meticulously. It's built around 4 key intercalated days. You can think of them as extra days, sort of slipped in.
Okay.
And these split the year into 4 perfectly equal portions, which gives you exactly 364 days. The source really emphasizes the precision needed here.
And it describes celestial beings actually managing this calendar, like a cosmic administration.
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
It details leaders of thousands of stars, 12 leaders who govern the months, and it specifically names 4 primary leaders for the year's 4 main parts: Milkiel, Helamelech, Melahel, and Nerel.
Wow.
It even names others who assist them, like Admiral, Ijesusael, and Elamiel. But the key thing is that Uriel, one of the angels, is explicitly credited with revealing this precise reckoning: luminaries, months, festivals, years, days, revealing it all to Enoch.
So an angel is basically handing over the blueprints for understanding time. That's amazing. And the text even gives detailed signs of the days under some of these leaders, like descriptions.
Oh, absolutely. Very vivid descriptions that sound exactly like seasonal markers. For example, under Milkiel, he reigns for 91 days. The signs include sweat, heat, calms, trees bearing fruit, and leaves.
Okay, so spring into summer vibes.
Right. Wheat harvest, rose flowers appearing, field flowers blooming, while the winter trees are withering. It paints a clear picture.
Definitely sounds like late spring, early summer.
Precisely. Then under the next one, Helamelech described as the shining sun. Also 91 days, the signs are glowing heat, dryness, trees ripening their fruit.
Peak summer now?
Yes, sheep pairing and becoming pregnant, gathering earth's fruits and field produce. The wine press is active. It's clearly high summer into early autumn.
It's incredibly specific, almost like a farmer's almanac, but divinely ordained.
What's really striking is the source's assertion that men would be at fault. That's the phrase used for not reckoning these 4 intercalary days accurately.
Ah, so getting it wrong is a problem.
A significant one, it seems. It underscores the perceived importance, the divine precision of this calendar. Deviating isn't just a mathematical error. It's presented as a spiritual or cosmic error.
It even names some of the lower-level managers, heads of thousands under these leaders.
It does. Berhel, Zelebsel, Halujasif, and then under the next leader, Jedalzel, Keel, Heel,
Oh.
Asphael. It gives this cosmic timekeeping system a real sense of, well, bureaucracy almost, a hierarchy.
Yeah, a whole celestial org chart for the seasons.
It presents a universe governed by incredibly specific, divinely ordained laws. And these laws extend right down to how you measure time.
So the core insight here seems to be that understanding the cosmos right down to the calendar isn't just, academic. It's about aligning with a divine revealed order.
Exactly.
Why might misreckoning those 4 specific days be so significant then? What's the implication?
Well, it suggests that even small deviations from divine instruction, even in something seemingly technical like a calendar, can throw things out of alignment.
Yeah.
Profoundly,
Right.
it could impact everything, potentially. Agricultural success, certainly, but also the proper timing and observance of religious festivals. It implies a departure from the true rhythm of creation, a disconnect from the divine plan.
That gives a whole new weight to, to managing a calendar properly. Okay, so moving from the ordered cosmos to something much more chaotic, much more symbolic, the visions.
Right. Enoch recounts these incredibly powerful dream visions to Methuselah. He describes two particularly impactful ones that he experienced before he was married. One is just terrifying, the other is this vast, complex allegory.
Let's start with the terrifying one. What did he see?
He was at his grandfather Mahaliel's house, and he saw heaven collapsing, literally falling to the earth.
Whoa.
And then the earth itself was swallowed up in a great abyss. Mountains and hills fell, trees were torn up from their roots and just sank into the void.
The image of the earth being swallowed. That's chilling. Utter destruction.
It's completely apocalyptic. Enoch's immediate reaction, his cry was, "The earth is destroyed."
And his grandfather interpreted this.
Yes, Mahalo saw it as a vision of great moment, directly about the secrets of the earth's sin. That sin inevitably leads to this kind of destruction.
So, sin isn't just a moral failing, it has cosmic destructive consequences in this view. What was Enoch's response then? Did he just despair?
No, he was urged to petition God, as a believer, to pray that a remnant might remain, that the earth wouldn't be utterly destroyed.
Okay.
And he did. He wrote down his prayer, and it is quite profound. It blesses God's power and kingship, acknowledges the sin, both angelic trespass and human sin, and pleads, really pleads, not to destroy all flesh,
But to preserve something.
to establish, quote, the flesh of righteousness and uprightness as a plant of the eternal seed, a plea for a righteous future, basically, to emerge from the potential destruction.
A plea for hope. Okay, now the second vision, the animal apocalypse. This sounds like a big one.
Oh, it's huge. It's perhaps the most complex part of the text we're looking at. It uses animal symbolism, bulls, sheep, wolves, various beasts, to depict vast stretches of history and prophecy.
An allegorical history lesson and future forecast using animals. How does this story begin?
It starts with symbolic figures representing early humanity. There's a white bull, a heifer, then conflict comes in, symbolized by a black and a red bull. Generations follow, depicted as oxen. Fairly straightforward initially.
Okay, setting the stage. Then what happens?
Then comes the key turning point, the introduction of disruptive forces. Enoch sees a star fall from heaven.
A fallen star.
Yes, and it's joined by many other stars descending. And these stars then interact with the cattle, the oxen, in a really unnatural way.
How so?
The text is surprisingly graphic. It says they let out privy members, like horses, cover the cows, and produce these hybrid offspring, elephants, camels, and asses.
Wow. Yeah, that is striking imagery. It seems to scream corruption entering the world, maybe referencing the fallen angels, the Watchers.
That's the standard interpretation, yes. It lines up with other parts of the Enochic tradition. And these hybrid creatures, they bring immediate violence and chaos.
What do they do?
They gore and devour the original oxen. They cause the earth to tremble. They even turn on each other, biting and devouring. It depicts a world just rapidly descending into total corruption and terror. The earth itself cries out.
A nightmare scenario. Is there any intervention?
Yes, divine intervention follows.
Yeah.
Beings described as looking like white men descend from heaven, angels, presumably.
Okay.
Some of them take Enoch up to a high place so he can witness the events unfolding, specifically the judgment.
Judgment on whom?
On the fallen stars, primarily. The first one is bound and cast into a horrible, dark abyss. Then some of the hybrid creatures, the elephants, camels, asses, are given a sword and they actually smite each other.
They destroy themselves.
Yes, while the earth quakes. And then the other fallen stars, the ones with those horse-like members, are also judged, bound, stoned symbolically, and cast into another abyss.
So the corrupting supernatural elements and their immediate offspring are dealt with, removed. Then does this lead into what sounds like the flood story?
Exactly. It transitions right into it. One of the angelic beings instructs the original white bull, who, interestingly, is now seen as becoming a man.
Ah, transformation.
Yes, he's told to build a great vessel, an ark. This man and 3 bulls, white, red, and black, often interpreted as his family. Noah and his sons, perhaps they enter the vessel.
And then the deluge.
Then the deluge. Water torrents from a high roof, fountains open below. The water swells, rises, covers the whole earth. All the cattle, elephants, camels, asses, all animals sink and perish. Only the vessel floats.
A stark picture of universal judgment, but with that preserved remnant inside the vessel. What happens after the water recedes?
The earth reappears, the vessel settles, and the man and the three bulls emerge. This marks a new beginning, a new era.
A fresh start.
Well, sort of. Conflict returns pretty quickly. They bring forth various wild beasts and birds, lions, tigers, wolves, dogs, hyenas, birds of prey, and almost immediately these start biting one another. The potential for strife remains.
Okay. So where does the narrative go from there?
It shifts focus significantly. Now the central figures become sheep. It starts with a white sheep being born, which then begets 12 sheep.
12 sheep. That sounds symbolic. Israel.
That's the very strong interpretation, yes. This group represents a new lineage, the chosen people.
And what's the story of these sheep? Does it parallel any known narratives?
Very much so. They multiply, but they face oppression. They're given over to asses, then tormented by wolves. They cry out to their Lord.
And the Lord responds.
Yes, the Lord descends, speaks to a saved sheep, leads them out. There's a dramatic parting of a sea for them to escape.
Wow. Okay, that's clearly echoing the Exodus story.
Unmistakably. Their pursuers, the wolves in this allegory, are drowned when the sea returns.
So they escape? Then what? A journey.
A journey into the wilderness. They escape, but there's hardship. No water, no grass initially. But then their eyes are opened, they see. The Lord pastures them, gives them water and grass.
There's guidance.
Yes, and leadership emerges. A key sheep figure leads them, even ascends a high rock to meet with the Lord, whose presence is described as great, terrible, and majestic. The other sheep are afraid.
But following the pattern, does faithfulness last?
Sadly, no. While the leader is away communing with the Lord, the sheep wander off, they become blinded spiritually, they fall away. The Lord is depicted as wrathful.
And the leader sheep?
Their leader returns, finds many have gone astray, blinded. He actually slays some, brings others back. And eventually, this leader sheep is seen as becoming a man.
Another transformation.
Yes, who builds a house for the Lord among them and places the sheep inside. A temple figure, perhaps?
Okay, so a period of settlement of structure.
For a time. The story continues through various periods. Leadership changes, symbolized by different sheep figures. Great sheep perish, little ones arise. There's more wandering, crossing a stream, eventually returning to a good land where the house stands.
But stability is elusive.
Very. Even in the house, the text says, their eyes are sometimes open, sometimes blinded. There's this constant backsliding.
And new threats emerge.
Yes. New oppressors appear. Dogs, foxes, wild boars start devouring the sheep. So the Lord raises up a series of rams leaders to defend them.
Do the rams succeed?
Some do, initially. One ram butts the beasts, but then even some leaders fail. One ram forsakes its glory, starts butting and trampling the sheep it was meant to protect.
Leadership corruption.
Exactly. So the Lord sends another lamb, raises it to be a ram, a new leader. The first corrupt ram pursues the second, but is pulled down by dogs. The second ram leads the little sheep. They grow, multiply. The beasts flee. This ram kills wild beasts.
So a period of righteous leadership and success.
It seems so. But then the second ram also falls asleep, passes away. A little sheep becomes the next ram, the leader. And the house, the temple, becomes great and broad. A lofty tower is built on a house for the Lord.
Things seem to be looking up.
But there's a catch. The Lord stands on the tower, but the table before him, the offerings are polluted. The bread is impure, signifying continued impurity among the flock, despite the outward structure.
Ah, so the core problem persists.
And the sheep err again. They go many ways, forsake the house and the tower. Their eyes become blinded once more.
And what happens when they forsake the house this time?
Messengers are sent by the Lord to warn them, sheep messengers, but they are slain. One is saved, carried up to Enoch himself. Many others are sent just to testify and lament over the situation.
Killing the messengers. A bad sign.
A very bad sign. When they fully forsake the house and tower, they fall away entirely, blinded. And the Lord's response is harsh. He slaughters many. They betray his place.
And they're given over to enemies.
Yes, given over to lions, tigers, wolves, hyenas, foxes, wild beasts. The Lord forsakes the house and tower himself and gives the sheep over to the beasts to be torn and devoured.
Enoch witnesses this.
He does, and he laments. He cries out, appeals to the Lord, representing the sheep being devoured. But the text says the Lord is unmoved, even rejoices in their destruction. and leaves them to be devoured.
That's a really challenging depiction of divine judgment. Very severe.
It is. And this leads into the next phase,
Yeah.
the 70 shepherds.
Who are they?
The Lord appoints these 70 shepherds to pasture the remaining sheep. But here's the twist. He gives them specific numbers that they are allowed, or perhaps commanded, to destroy,
Commanded
or
destruction.
at least permitted up to a limit. But Enoch observes, and this is crucial, that they consistently slay and destroy more than they were commanded. They deliver the sheep excessively to the lions, tigers, boars.
They exceed their mandate for judgment.
Exactly. And the beasts eat the sheep, they burn the tower, they demolish the house. Enoch is deeply sorrowful over the demolished house.
And this is where that meticulous record-keeping comes back in, isn't it?
Precisely. The Lord appoints another figure, sometimes interpreted as the writer of the book, perhaps Enoch himself in this role, to secretly observe and record every single excess destruction committed by each of the 70 shepherds, day by day.
Wow. Daily reports on overdestruction.
Yes. This record is compiled, shown to the Lord, read before him, sealed, and laid down. It serves as a testimony against these shepherds. It underscores this theme of absolute accountability, even for those appointed to carry out judgment.
Fascinating. Even the instruments of limited judgment are themselves held accountable if they go too far.
It's a powerful statement about justice.
And the destruction continues under these shepherds.
Oh, yes. They pasture in their appointed seasons, but the excessive destruction continues. Even birds of prey, eagles, vultures, kites, ravens join in, devouring the sheep until few remain, just bones left scattered.
It sounds utterly hopeless for the shoot.
It seems that way. But then, amidst this deep despair, a new hope emerges. Lambs are born, but these lambs have their eyes open.
Ah, a sign of understanding.
It seems so. They cry out to the blind sheep, trying to warn them or wake them up, but the blind sheep don't listen. They're deaf, blind, lost. And ravens attack these new lambs, gash them down, devour them.
So even the new hope is under attack.
Immediately. But then, a really pivotal moment. Horns begin to grow on these lambs, and then a great horn sprouts on one particular sheep, and its eyes are opened.
A great horn,
Yeah.
a leader figure.
That's the strong implication. This sheep cries out, and other rams, maybe other potential leaders or righteous ones, run to it. Beasts and birds are still tearing at the sheep, but now the rams lament and cry out together. The ravens fight against this great horn, but they cannot prevail.
This sounds like a turning point, a messianic figure, perhaps.
That's a very common interpretation of the great horn figure, yes.
Yeah.
A figure of deliverance and power rising from within the flock.
What happens next? Does this figure lead a counterattack?
The conflict escalates. All the enemies gather eagles, vultures, ravens, kites, and interestingly it says all the sheep of the field, perhaps meaning apostate sheep, joining the enemy. They all gather to try and break this great horn.
A final showdown.
Exactly. And then the turning point. A great sword is given to the sheep, likely meaning the flock gathered around the great horn. And with this sword, they attack all the beasts and birds of prey. And the enemies flee. The oppressed fight back with divine aid, and they triumph.
Victory for the sheep. So after this battle,
After the victory, the writer figure presents the book, the record detailing the destruction caused by the last 12 shepherds, who apparently destroyed much more than their predecessors. This is brought before the Lord.
and then Judgment Day begins.
Then the judgment day begins in earnest. The Lord comes, holding a staff of great wrath, smites the earth, and it cleaves open. All the beasts and birds that oppose the sheep fall into this chasm and are swallowed up.
Wow. Swift judgment on the enemies.
Yes, then a throne is erected in the pleasant land, perhaps representing the restored land of Israel. The Lord sits on the throne to judge. The writer figure opens the sealed books, including the record against the shepherds.
And who is judged first?
The 7 first white ones are called, possibly representing the initial angelic figures involved. They bring the fallen stars, those with the horse-like members, before the Lord.
And the verdict?
Judged, found guilty, and cast into a fiery abyss described as flaming, with pillars of fire. Then the 70 shepherds are judged, also found guilty, and cast into that same fiery abyss.
So the corrupt supernatural forces and the unfaithful human leaders share a fate. What about the sheep who went astray?
A like abyss, similar but distinct, is opened in the midst of the earth, full of fire. The blinded sheep, those who erred and betrayed the Lord's place, are brought forward, judged guilty, and cast into this fiery abyss, located to the right of the house. Enoch says he saw them burning, their bones burning.
So different levels of judgment, distinct fates for the different groups of the unfaithful and corrupt. What happens after all this judgment? is there restoration?
Yes, a profound restoration. The old house, the flawed temple or structure is folded up, removed, carried away to the south. Then the Lord brings a new house, greater and loftier than the first, with new pillars, new ornaments. It's set up in the place where the old one stood.
A new, perfect dwelling place.
Exactly. And all the remaining sheep, the faithful remnant, are gathered within it.
And what about the wider world, the beasts and birds?
This is remarkable. All the sheep that were left, and astonishingly, all the beasts of the earth and birds of heaven who had previously oppressed them, they all fall down, do homage, petition, and obey the sheep. It signifies a complete universal restoration of proper order and peace.
Oh, a total reversal. And where is Enoch in all this?
The three white beings, the angels who took him up earlier, along with the hand of the ram, perhaps representing divine power, or the messianic leader, they bring Enoch up and set him among the sheep before the judgment is fully completed. He witnesses it from within the redeemed community.
Okay. And the state of the sheep in this new house?
Utterly transformed. They are all white, their wool is abundant and clean. All those who've been destroyed or dispersed, along with all the now subdued beasts and birds, assemble in that house. The Lord rejoices greatly over them. And the sword that was given to the sheep for battle, it's laid down, brought back into the house, and sealed before the Lord. Peace is established.
And the house itself, the new one?
It's described as being vast. When all the sheep are invited into it, the text says the house held them not. It couldn't contain them, implying its immense, perhaps infinite capacity, or the sheer number of the redeemed.
Wow. And is there a final transformation described?
Yes, a very significant one. The eyes of all the sheep are opened. None are blind anymore. They all see the good. The house is large, broad, very full. Then a white bull is born among them, with large horns.
Back to the bull symbolism from the beginning.
Exactly, but transformed. All the beasts and birds now fear and petition this white bull. And then it says all their generations are transformed. They all become white bulls.
A complete return to a state of purity and strength.
It seems so. And the first among them, perhaps the original figure, becomes a lamb, which then develops into a great animal with great black horns on its head, maybe signifying a unique leadership or authority role. The Lord rejoices over this figure and all the oxen.
It's a complex final sequence, tying back to the start, but showing a complete glorious restoration under a powerful, perhaps divine-like leader.
It really brings the whole allegorical narrative to a powerful conclusion of righteousness, peace, and divine favor. And after seeing all this, Enoch awakes.
How does he react?
He blesses God, naturally. But he also weeps greatly. He's deeply troubled by the vision, especially, it says, by that first terrifying dream of destruction, because he now understands that everything he saw, both the terror and the ultimate hope, will absolutely come and be fulfilled.
The weight of knowing that must have been immense. That animal apocalypse is incredibly dense, but wow, what a powerful sweep of history and prophecy through allegory.
It really is. It condenses potentially millennia into one dramatic symbolic narrative. But beyond these big visions, the source material also includes Enoch's more direct guidance and warnings, stuff meant for future generations.
Right. What's the core message in those more direct instructions? Is it different from the visions?
It reinforces the themes, really, but more straightforward ethical terms. The core message is, love uprightness, walk in it. Avoid double-heartedness, avoid violence. Righteousness is presented as the path that leads to good outcomes, the path where God guides you.
So practical ethics grounded in the cosmic drama.
Exactly. And he prophesies again about an increase in violence and transgression in the future, which will lead to a great divine chastisement. Unrighteousness will be cut off at its roots, sinful structures destroyed, idols abandoned and burned, sinners and blasphemers judged by the sword.
This reinforces the judgment theme very strongly, and he presents this as the wisdom of Enoch for his descendants.
Yes, explicitly. Written so they won't be troubled by the difficult times ahead, because the Holy and Great One has appointed days for all things. There's an assurance that the righteous will ultimately arise from sleep, walk in righteousness, and inherit eternal goodness, grace, and light, while sin perishes forever in darkness.
There's also another timeline vision, the week's vision, right? How does that fit in?
It offers another way of structuring history and prophecy, dividing it into 10 periods or weeks. It maps key events: creation, Moses, the Tibble periods, times of blindness and dispersion leading up to a final week of judgment, and then the election of the eternal plant of righteousness.
So it's a more linear, perhaps simpler prophetic timeline compared to the complexity of the animal apocalypse.
Exactly. A complementary perspective. And interestingly, around this point, Enoch also reflects on the limits of human understanding compared to divine knowledge.
How so?
He asks rhetorical questions like, who among humans can truly behold heaven, know its dimensions, count the stars, measure the earth, or fully comprehend God's thoughts? It kind of sets the stage for the pronouncements that follow, emphasizing their divine authority.
And those pronouncements are the woes. These sound pretty severe.
They are a series of very sharp, direct pronouncements against specific types of wickedness, detailing the consequences that will follow. We kind of group them thematically to make sense of them.
Okay, what kinds of sins draw these woes?
Well, first, there are woes against those who build wickedness. People involved in unrighteous building, oppression, deceit, constructing sin. Their judgment is described as sudden overthrow, no peace for them.
Right. What else?
Woe is pronounced very strongly on those who acquire wealth unjustly, those who trust in their gold and silver instead of the Most High. They're warned about the day of slaughter, darkness, and great judgment awaiting them. Their riches won't save them.
So condemnation of unjust wealth and misplaced trust.
Absolutely. Then there are powerful woes against those who actively harm others, people who requite evil for good, lying witnesses, those who persecute the righteous, spread evil, use false measures in trade, build their houses through the toil of others, help oppression, slay their neighbors.
It covers a lot of ground in terms of social injustice.
It really does. It even includes woes against mutual slaughter within families, condemning internal conflict too.
Comprehensive. Any other categories?
Yes. Woe is also declared against those with internal corruption, people who appear righteous, but whose hearts are full of deceit, those with obstinate hearts who persist in working wickedness, even those who eat blood, which was forbidden. They too will find no peace.
And what about rejecting God's ways directly?
Big condemnations there. Woe to those who forsake the fountain of life, who work unrighteousness, deceit, blasphemy, who set aside or ignore the words of the righteous, who write lying or godless words, who pervert upright words, transgress the eternal law, follow idols, worship stones, images, spirits, or demons. Their end is said to be sudden perishing.
And one more category.
Finally, woe to those who actually glory in wickedness itself. Those who take pride in lying, who extol wickedness, who rejoice when the righteous face tribulation.
So not just doing wrong, but delighting in it.
Exactly. And the consequences described across all these woes are consistently dire and absolutely certain.
What kind of consequences are we talking about?
It's a grim list. Sudden overthrow, no peace. Falling by the sword, sudden perishing, judgment day slaughter, darkness, the Creator actually rejoicing at their destruction, being delivered into the hands of the righteous to be slain, having no proper grave, sudden death, being trampled underfoot, their glory cast down, destruction by the sword, fierce indignation, even streams flowing with their blood.
Wow, this text leaves absolutely no room for doubt about the outcome for the wicked in its view. And it keeps coming back to the idea that all these evil deeds are revealed and recorded somewhere.
That's a fundamental point, hammered home repeatedly. It states clearly that all evil deeds, all oppression are not hidden. They are revealed in the heavens, and they are recorded daily before the Most High, right up until the day of judgment.
Nothing escapes notice.
Nothing. It even uses this striking imagery that elements of nature, clouds, mist, dew, rain, are somehow withheld because of sinners and are mindful of their sins. Like the cosmos itself is a witness against them.
The universe itself as a recorder, that's powerful. So what's the contrast for the righteous? What's their fate, according to this text?
For the righteous, the message is consistently one of hope and eventual vindication. They're explicitly told, fear not sinners, because the righteous will ultimately have lordship over them.
Okay.
Their children will rise like eagles. They will experience healing, bright light, and hear a voice of rest coming from heaven. Their prayers are heard.
Their prayers reach the Lord.
Yes, the prayer of the righteous ascends and reaches the Lord. And while the Most High is mindful of the sinner's destruction and the angels rejoice over it, the righteous are remembered for good.
The text also describes the fate of souls after death, doesn't it, in some detail?
It does. It paints a vivid picture of the place of spirits. For sinners, blasphemers, the wicked, those who perverted the words of the prophets, there's a place described like blazing fire, filled with sounds of weeping, crying, lamentation, and great pain. Their sins, it says, are written down in heaven so the angels know what befalls them.
A truly stark description of suffering after death for the wicked. What about the spirits of the good?
That speaks beautifully of them. The spirits of the humble, the afflicted, those who are put to shame by the wicked in life. Those who loved God, who hated worldliness, whose bodies were tortured, who longed not for earthly food but saw life as a passing breath.
Those who endured hardship for their faith.
Yes, those who are tried by the Lord, whose spirits remain pure, who blessed his name even when suffering, they are promised blessings, recompensed specifically because they loved heaven more than their earthly life. Though they were abused, reviled, shamed, they bless God.
And their ultimate state. What's their transformation and glory like?
The spirits of the good, called the generation of light, are summoned. It mentions that even those born in darkness who weren't recompensed fairly in life will be transformed. Those who loved God's holy name are brought forth into shining light. They're seated on thrones of honor, resplendent forever. Righteousness itself is God's judgment for them, faithfulness for the faithful.
And they witness the fate of the wicked.
Yes, they will see those born in darkness being led into darkness, while they themselves shine brightly. The sinners will cry out when they see the glory of the righteous. It's a complete reversal of fortunes.
This idea of angelic remembrance, it keeps coming up, tying back to that theme of accountability.
It connects directly. Angels remember the righteous for good in heaven. Their names are written before the glory of the Great One. So the righteous are encouraged. Be hopeful. You were formerly shamed, but now you will shine like the lights of heaven. You will be seen. The portals of heaven will be opened for you.
Their cries for justice are answered.
Their cries for judgment appear, yes. Tribulation will be visited upon the rulers and those who help plunder them. Great joy awaits them, like the angels. They won't need to hide on the day of judgment. They won't be found as sinners, and eternal judgment will be far from them.
So what's the final kind of exhortation from Enoch to his readers, wrapping this up?
The practical advice is, fear not when you see sinners prospering. Don't be their companions. Keep far away from their violence. Instead, become companions of the hosts of heaven. Align yourself with the divine.
And a final warning against those who deny that sins are recorded.
Yes, the text is absolutely adamant about this. Sinners are profoundly wrong to think their deeds aren't being recorded or seen. Light and darkness, day and night, see all sins. It warns strongly against being godless in your heart, lying, altering the words of truth, charging the Holy One with lying, or accounting idols as anything real. All this, it says, leads to great sin.
There's also that interesting point near the end about a mystery concerning books and words.
Yes, a fascinating little section. It mentions a mystery that sinners will alter, pervert words, lie, deceive, and even write books based on their false words.
Okay, a warning about false teachings.
But then there's a counter mystery, a promise. It says that when Enoch's words, this genuine wisdom, are written down truthfully in different languages without change or diminishment,
When the true record is preserved,
then these books will be given to the righteous and the wise. And they will become a source of joy, uprightness, and great wisdom for them. Those who believe these true words rejoice in them, and learn the paths of uprightness from them will be recompensed.
so the faithful preservation and transmission of this truthful wisdom is absolutely key for righteousness and future reward.
Absolutely critical.
Yeah.
And the whole section effectively ends with the Lord's command to Enoch and others like him. Testify about this wisdom to the children of earth. Show unto them, for you are their guides and a recompense over the whole earth.
A heavy responsibility.
A huge one. Followed by a final promise. The Lord and his Son will be united with the children of uprightness forever in their lives, and they shall have peace. Rejoice, children of uprightness. Amen.
Amen. Wow. Okay, stepping back from all that incredible detail, what really stands out about the sheer scale and, well, the density of the text we've just explored?
The scope is just breathtaking, isn't it? It's attempting to map literally everything, from the intricate movements of stars and the structure of the calendar,
Right down to the minute details.
all the way up to the entirety of human and cosmic history, the nature of sin and holiness, the mechanisms of judgment, and the ultimate fate of all creation. It's not just prophecy. It's presented as a complete cosmological, historical, and ethical framework. It's massive.
So if we were to boil it down, what are the most impactful insights or key themes we can take away from this deep dive today?
I think there are a few major ones that keep recurring. First, this idea of a universe governed by an incredibly precise, divinely set order, think the calendar, but an order that's constantly under threat from chaos, introduced by rebellion and sin, both supernatural and human.
Order versus chaos.
Definitely. Second, the absolute unwavering belief in ultimate divine judgment and accountability. The idea that actions, good and bad, are recorded, they have weight, and they lead to inevitable consequences. That record-keeping theme is powerful.
Yeah, that came through loud and clear.
Third, the sheer power of allegory, especially in that animal apocalypse vision, to convey vast, complex historical and spiritual truths in a memorable, symbolic way. And finally, perhaps the most central theme, this stark binary choice presented throughout, a path of righteousness, leading to light, transformation, vindication, eternal peace, contrasted sharply with a path of wickedness, leading inevitably to judgment, darkness, and destruction.
That binary is very, very clear. So, why is exploring this ancient text relevant to you, the listener, today? What can we glean from it?
Well, on one level, it offers a fascinating glimpse into how an ancient mind or a community grappled with really fundamental human questions. Questions about justice, suffering, the nature of evil, the meaning of history, hope for the future.
Questions we still ask.
Exactly. While the specific imagery, the angels and demons, the animal symbols, are obviously from a very different time and worldview, those underlying concerns about moral choices, accountability, the hope for a better world, the struggle against corruption, they resonate across centuries. It prompts us to consider different ways of understanding our own history, maybe, and the forces we see at play in the world.
That animal apocalypse allegory, even though it's so dense and sometimes bizarre, it really does highlight how powerful symbolic narratives can be for conveying complex ideas, doesn't it? About history, divine intervention.
It really does. It bypasses just a dry historical recounting. It uses these vivid, sometimes really shocking images to create an emotional impact, a memorable narrative arc. It simplifies incredibly complex periods and spiritual dynamics into this dramatic struggle between symbolic figures sheep, wolves, bulls, stars. It's a masterclass, in a way, in how story can carry profound theological and historical meaning.
And that contrast we noted earlier between the really specific, almost scientific sounding calendar details and then these grand, symbolic, almost dreamlike visions, what does that tell us?
It's fascinating. It suggests that perhaps reality in this ancient worldview isn't just one thing, it's layered. There are precise, knowable, almost mechanical laws governing creation, the 364-day year, the stars' paths. But alongside that, there are these vast, unfolding spiritual dramas, destinies playing out that are maybe best understood through symbol, through allegory, through vision. It's like a blend of cosmic mechanics and cosmic drama existing side by side.
Right. And that recurring, almost relentless emphasis on recording deeds, every action, every excess destruction by the shepherds, noted daily before the Most High. What does that relentless focus on accountability really say about the core message here?
I think it implies an absolute, inescapable moral reality. Nothing gets missed. Nothing is forgotten. There's an inherent cosmic justice system embedded in the fabric of existence, where actions have real, indelible weight. It completely challenges any notion that deeds done in secret, or perhaps especially deeds done by those in positions of power, will somehow escape ultimate review and consequence. Accountability is total.
Well, this deep dive into Enoch's prophecies has certainly given us a huge amount to consider. We've covered everything from ancient cosmology and divine calendars
To those sweeping allegorical visions of all history, the severe pronouncements against every kind of wickedness.
and the promises of ultimate vindication and glorious transformation for the righteous and faithful.
The core message, really, running through it all, remains this potent call to choose the path of righteousness, coupled with that stark, unwavering warning about the certainty of divine judgment for wickedness. All happening within a universe overseen by a powerful, judging, yet ultimately restorative divine presence, at least for the faithful remnant.
It definitely leaves you thinking. And maybe here's a final thought for you, the listener, to mull over. Considering that meticulous, constant recording of actions described throughout this text, this idea that everything is revealed, noted daily before the Most High, what might that imply about the nature of truth and consequence? Not just in some grand, cosmic, end-of-days sense, but perhaps even in the small choices, the seemingly insignificant actions we all make every single day.
It really compels you to ponder, doesn't it? Whether every thought, every word, every deed carries a kind of weight we can't fully perceive. Registered, perhaps, in some kind of cosmic ledger that insists on ultimate truth and consequence, making even the smallest act of integrity or the smallest deceit profoundly significant in the grand scheme of things.
A profound thought indeed to carry with us. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.